We're good? Live? Hit me up when we're good on Facebook. We're good. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to know why I think AMRN is going to absolutely explode higher this week? I'm going to share my opinion. I am Mark Melnick, and this is the Newsbeat Show. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Newsbeat Show. It's a very interesting week for me. First, I was able to speak with psychologist friend of mine, pretty world renowned. He does have a few books out there on the market. I'm not going to just name drop him, but very interesting guy. And I set out on a mission with him in order to help traders on the psychological aspect of trading. And, we could sit there and we could talk all day. We've, been part of many psychology reports and psychological studies, and we discuss the reports and what we read on the studies. And it was very interesting stuff. And also, I got to talk to some of my friends in the biotech field, and I'm going to share with you their opinions on why I think AMRN is going to actually explode up this week. If you want to watch this video, you have to pause this slide and agree to everything here. Okay, so let's just go ahead and get right into the mix. So, looking at that's the S&P 500. Taking a look at AMRN here on the daily. Nice little name. I mean, we called it actually bullish on earnings, and this is one of them that gapped up. And it's been in a very interesting range. Like, I want to just delete even my trend lines in AMRN. I just want you to have a clear look at the stock, and I want to just take you to a weekly time frame to just basically show you. You can ignore all my technical schmameters, right? But you could basically see ever since September of last year, the stock has been part of a very major bull flag. Now, when looking at a yearly chart of AMRN, by no means is this thing remotely close to the all-time high that it was in 1996 post 1 for 10 split numbers of $1,138. This thing is trading a little better than 1.5% of its all-time, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, the all-time high was 1993 of $1,425. I stand corrected, ladies and gentlemen. This stock is trading at a, am I looking at that correctly? It is about 1% approximately of its all-time highs, trading 99% off the all-time high. Very beaten up company, zero love. I got to sit down with one of my sources, again, which I will not name, but I was discussing one of their drugs, and he was asking, of course, my opinion on it, and I was trying to bring value to it. And there's going to be something very special this week in AMRN, and I think you're going to want to hear what I have to say, even if, again, this is all for educational purposes only. I really don't care. People have to realize, like, at the end of the day, like, you're here to make money. If you feel like taking an idea like this and shorting it is going to help you make money, that's on you, and you have my blessing. Like, at the end of the day, could care less. I'm not, I'm not trading. I'm not, going long or short, a $5 name or a $7 name looking to hit it big. This is a little more of a bigger company. It's a $6 billion company at $17.50 a share. And I'm going to share something with you that you absolutely have to watch or listen to, rather, because I'm going to enlighten you on why this stock I feel is going to absolutely explode this week. I mean, I humbly think $20 to $23 is in the cards. So yeah, and we're talking obviously this week, and we're going to just go ahead and talk about it. So first of all, AMRN has a drug called Vasipa. Vasipa is how you go through it, and just going right to the company's website. It's supposed to lower very high triglycerides in adults. And if you don't know, you probably heard, oh, Americans eat too much red meat. I always love these studies that scientists always think that they know what's best for humanity, 99.9% of them are so full of it. Like, did you know that when your parents were growing up, or maybe some of the old school traders here, they used to tell pregnant women to get over cramps to have a cigarette. They literally, doctors were recommending that you have a cigarette. I cannot laugh. Look it up on Google if you think I am kidding. They literally recommended that you have a cigarette to relieve pregnancy cramps. They used to recommend to clean a wound that you put a mercury gel on yourself. Now that we use like hydrogen peroxide or alcohol or witch hazel, they used to put a mercury gel on people, which unfortunately I don't want to talk about how it's transferred to the brain of your grandchildren, of your grandchildren, of your grandchildren via the placenta, and I don't want to go through that. All I'm saying is what doctors believe today is beyond disproven like tomorrow. But that's okay because this company is still going to benefit. Now, why did I bring up the too much red meat? Why am I bringing this stuff up? Is because a lot of Americans and a lot of people around the world as well are suffering from very high triglycerides, and they tend to have very bad cholesterol and a lot of heart problems. Heart disease is one of the biggest things in America right now. And of course, just like every drug commercial, they'll show whoever has the condition with the extremely attractive partner. Like right here, here's a dude who's the dude's about, he's batting like a 5, and the wife or who they're insinuating is like an 8 or 9. And look how happy they are together because he lowered his high triglycerides. He's just so happy. And he goes in the background, the doctor's complimenting him on, wow, man, you really did it. Good job. And you could just see like how these typical, drug websites work. And it shows blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's the website. That is a very brief overview. That wasn't supposed to be what I want to share with you. Now listen very closely. Okay. We're going to pull up this chart just to show you. I need to show you Vasipa's sales. I need to show you the sales from Vasipa. Okay. So this is just right off the company's website, right off their earnings report, that Vasipa basically, here are their sales of just Vasipa since 2013. Notice something? Notice the curve is starting to go parabolic like this. Notice that? As more and more Americans are eating Beyond Burgers and other extremely healthy items, you could just see. Look at the sales. They're starting to increase. More and more heart issues. More and more heart issues, right? And then, of course, I know you guys want me to get to the very juicy part. Sure. Well, since you asked, I would be glad to share it with you. So at the end of the third quarter, the company had about $677 million in cash equivalents. So the company really has this healthy cash position to support Vasipa's expanded launch preparations that are currently underway and are going to continue into 2020. And these preparations are going to include increasing the sales force headcount, boosting promotional activities. Wait till you see like the commercial of like a girl with some very extremely attractive guy or some guy with some way hotter than him girl, and you're going to probably see a commercial like that. And I joke around like that because that is the best marketing for drugs. And I'm just telling you now because when you start seeing this on TV, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that Mark Melnick, how did he know? Was he part of their marketing campaign? No, just look at any commercial, Humira, Stellara, whatever it is, whatever commercial it is, it's always done the same way. And they sell, they make billions. Now, why is AMRN going to do it? Well, AMRN is walking into what's called an ADCOM. An ADCOM. Now, what is an ADCOM? It's an advisory committee. ADCOM, Advisory Committee, and it provides the FDA. It's an FDA advisory committee, by the way, and it provides the FDA or agency with self-determining guidance from external experts. They bring in external experts from a variety of authorities and profession, and these committees discuss and vote on a variety of issues related to drugs, vaccines, devices, and any other biological products like Humira is a biological drug, Stelara, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They have to. Well, what does biological drug means? It means the drug was once living. They either taken it. I believe. What is it? Was it Remicade comes from like rats, like rat fetuses? I mean, not to sound disgusting here, but there's something that's living. It wasn't just synthetically created in a laboratory, just so you understand what biological products are. So, for people who are allergic to rats, some of them have died from taking Remicade. I mean, not to jump into Remicade here, but you get the picture. It's a biological drug for human and veterinary use. So, ADCOMs typically, the way they work is they have a chair member, along with several other members who are overpaid and have knowledge and experience to provide advisement to the FDA. So the FDA is basically sitting there and say, all right, guys, who wants to go for lunch? Because we don't know what we're talking about here. Let's bring in somebody else to help us. So they'll go to this external authority to come in and advise them on the drug. They will take the opinion of the advisory, and then they'll pass judgment upon the drug. Now, that is going to be happening this week. I'll share with you the day. Just stick with me. I'm just trying to explain to you so you understand where I am coming from. So, ADCOMs, they're often scheduled when the FDA believes either the drug, the product, the topic, whatever is in front of their faces requires an outside opinion to help them determine their next course of action, of course. In terms of drugs, the FDA is asking the ADCOM here to provide their views on Vasipa and to vote on supporting approval. Although the FDA often sides with the ADCOM committee, their vote for or against approval does not mean the FDA will follow the recommendations. I don't want to start quoting old cases for stock price manipulation purposes, but basically it's not guaranteed, but it's guaranteed. It's not written in stone. Just like I cannot tell you that there's a 100% chance the sun is going to come up tomorrow, something swirling through space. Most people don't know the sun is actually moving. It's moving about 400 million miles an hour. Just so you don't know, the sun is just whipping around the center of the Milky Way galaxy black hole at 400 million miles an hour. I know, pretty fast, right? More often than not, the FDA does follow the recommendation of the ADCOM committee. And prior to the ADCOM date, which will be coming this week, the FDA is going to usually, if you go to FDA.gov, they're going to post briefing documents from the company, the sponsor, whatever, and from the FDA. And these briefing documents should be a comprehensive argument for or against the product's approval. This briefing document release has developed into a significant event for the stock as investors and, more importantly, black box algorithms quickly scour the document, attempting to find keywords to indicate the FDA's view on the product. So every single high-end Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley black box algorithm is going to be spamming on FDA.gov. What do I mean by spamming? Refresh, 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 refresh at 300 different locations and all pinging back to one central information headquarters. Yeah, it's almost like the way these algos work on the complex side is kind of crazy. And what's going to happen here is most retail investors like you or I aren't as fast as supercomputers. Very unfortunately, because then we would be Superman. If there was an asteroid headed towards Earth, we would just look at it and shoot red laser beams out of our eyes and take care of it. But what can us slow, lethargic humans do to take advantage of this? Well, although these briefing documents are critical pieces of information for investors, your friend Mark Melnick over here started his own little Q&A and started asking doctors, side effects from doctors, if they saw any, how they feel it on their patients, as well as people who are, let's just say, deeply romantically engaged in the biotech industry. Okay? So, even though the briefing documents are critical pieces of information for investors, which will be coming out on this week, the initial market reaction is not always fair or appropriately justified. The news reading algos find keywords and act on them. So if the FDA document has wording such as we think, but or in our opinion, the company doesn't believe this supports approval. The FDA does not agree with the sponsor's claim. If you start seeing language like that, the company can expect a strong move to the downside. However, if the FDA's briefing document is supposed to be in the opposition of the, in the other side, it could contain several negative phrases or keywords. So I mean, I'm actually suggesting that people read these briefing documents and not act on the initial market's response because it could be wrong or misguided. But let's get right into the meat of the potatoes, where I think it's going and how I would play it, okay? On the day of the ADCOM meeting, which is generally in the morning, they generally get in their office, with their coffees, bagels, and their bingo, cards, and they start reading out bingo numbers to each other. It generally starts around 8 o'clock a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what happens is usually when the ADCOM comes out, the stock is actually going to remain halted until the ADCOM is finished, which is generally after market close, 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock p.m., depending how miserable they are listening to the committees and the ADCOM's thoughts. These ADCOM's committees are often webcasts, and you can pick it up somewhere on FDA.gov, which is going to allow traders like us to hear the conversations in real time and also see the presentation slides. But keep in mind the stock will likely be halted. So, the ADCOM meeting is broken up into segments with the sponsor company presenting first and the FDA presenting second, and then the Q&A session from the committee members. In addition to the three parties, the ADCOM meeting has actually a public forum section where members of the public, institutions, and even trial patients can make statements about their view on the product or problem it intends to address. So you're basically opening this up to patients who have and still take this drug, Vasipa. According to my sources, doctors absolutely love this. They absolutely love this. They absolutely love this. Their patients love this. I asked them if there were reported side effects. The best I see is that there are no additional side effects compared to placebo studies, meaning that even when you give somebody a placebo drug, they do a double-blind study. They take, let's say, just for number's sake, it was more than this, 100 patients. 50 of them have a placebo drug, which is the famous sugar pill or whatever, and the other 50 have a drug. Even the people who take the 50 sugar pills report side effects. So what they do is they take the side effects from the real drug and the side effects from the placebo, and there was no significant statistical difference between those two things, meaning that the dangers of taking the drug were similar to that of the placebo, at least in terms of the duration in which they measured you know, um, patient issues after taking the drug. So based on, you know, so AMRN did this what's called a reduce it study. I kid you not. What an incredible name, because they're reducing high triglycerides. They did a reducive studies, which can't get over that name, which had positive results and indicated that Vasipa could help millions of cardiovascular patients. In fact, John Thoreau, if you haven't heard of him, he's the CEO of AMRN, said, based upon our reduce it results, if all the statin treat, for patients who have heart, the statin-treated patients in the U.S. with elevated triglyceride levels were treated with Vasipa. The company estimates the major adverse cardiovascular events such as stroke, heart attack, and cardiovascular death could in aggregate be reduced by 150 to 450,000 people a year. So he came out and he made an argument that said if anybody, basically statin treated patients, if everybody with these heart issues, and just to put in layman's word, were given Vasipa, cardiovascular deaths in the United States, one of the top killers in the United States, would be reduced by 150 to 450,000 people a year. And by doing this, it would actually transform healthcare in the US by helping patients, providers, and even payers. I mean, the only entity being hurt would be the embedded competition. And the CEO believes that the data and anecdotal evidence will support Vasipa in the ADCOM. All right, now he's the CEO. He's a biased son of a gun. He better throw on a smiling face and say these things. So I am agreeing with him. His biggest concern is that the FDA's attack on their AMRN's Reduce It trial, they're going to attack it on the trial design, which would then question, if Vasipa would need like a what do they call it, a black label, like a special label, and they're not really, he's not really sure what angle they're going to take, but he's sure they're going to try to find an edge to pry into it. He says that he expects AMRN to be prepared for everything the FDA throws at them, and he's hoping the company is able to bring a few opinion leaders, patients, and current prescribers to the AdCom for the public forum section. Now, according to my sources, he has these people lined up for the AdCom. He has these people lined up for the AdCom. The doctors, I spoke to three of them. The three doctors I spoke to absolutely love this drug. To them, it's the miracle drug. Um, I can't go super deep on some of the comments that were made, but they think it's a miracle drug. They said it's going, as one doctor said, it would be a tragedy towards humanity if this drug is not passed. That doesn't mean anything. Of course, as you know, I'm just sharing a comment. Um, the CEO also said 100 comments have been written on Vasipa's behalf. And then finally, according to other sources that I know in the biotech field, one person is putting the approval at 85%, at over eight, let's call it over 80%. Um, and he's in a big tier one firm. Okay. So nobody knows what's going to happen. So how would I play this here? Well, we all know that they're going to do it. I believe it's on November 14th, so I believe it's happening this Thursday. My thoughts are this stock can find a little bit of momentum into Thursday's number. Looking at this chart technically, it might not be the cutest thing in the world. It looks just like a big, grindy, falling wedge at best is probably the most bullish thing from a technical perspective that I can make. Trading above moving average or fighting on Bollinger Band resistance. Um, Fine. You reported earnings that were, excuse me, interpreted positively right here. Last Tuesday, you could have traded them, after the report, of course, and it dropped and it popped. I'll tell you right now, there are cute ways to play this. I mean, straight up common stock is one thing, but I would actually, and I'll talk about the options I would go after. Right over here, you have resistance at 1776. Just please understand, as I talk to you about this, I currently do not own a single share of AMRN. I currently do not own a single option contract of AMRN. I currently did not short a single option contract, so I didn't like short puts or buy calls. I don't have any AMRN position whatsoever at all. Okay, no AMRN. Look, see, you don't see any AMRN up my sleeves? No AMRN. All right, just so we're clear. I mean, if whether I owned it or not, I wouldn't give a what to tell you this information. It's just that I don't. So how would I play it here? Well, you're going to notice that, this event is being taken into serious consideration. Let's see if I could just pull up my Schwab software right here just to show you what the calls and puts. So yes, people are obviously very aware of this AdCom event. And even like looking at the $20 calls this week, they're trading at 97 cents, about a dollar for $20 calls. So think about it. These calls expiring this week, the stock would have to basically go to $21 for you to break even, just to give you an example. And on the flip side of this $17.50 stock, it closed at 17.48. If you wanted to buy in the opposite direction, the $15 puts, you would actually pay more. So the irony behind this is that I would say people are more pricing in the stock going down than up because people a $15 put is a dollar 45, dollar 40 to a dollar 45 right now. So in order for that put to break even, and it expires this week. So the stock's opening up, let's say it opens up flat tomorrow, wherever, I don't really care where it opens at 17 and a half. In order for this put to break even, this stock would have to go to $13.60. So imagine you buy a put betting on it to go down, and the stock has to go down here where my cursor is to break even. Like you'd be flat money on that move. So I'm sure there's going to be people who come in with these genius calls. I understand that the market is pricing in more negativity than positivity in this ADCOM event. I am not delusional to that fact. I am just pointing out the numbers in which people shared with me. There are a lot of cute ways of playing it if you did want to try it bullish. The first one is, I mean, obviously you could go straight stock. A cute little lottery ticket I found is if you wanted to go down to December monthly, which is December 20th expiration here, and simply hop out to the $25 calls. They're printing about 40 cents. I mean, they printed 39 cents at 335. So about for pretty much about 40 cents, you could buy, $25 calls in December. And even if the stock just bounces up to 20, 21, I mean, you'll have options that expire like pretty much all the way here. I mean, these will be December 20th. So right here is, just to give you an example, right here is December 20th. So you get to, have the trading up until this line for each bar, like each day, all the way up until here. That's one way of doing it. I'm sure there's going to be people who do very cute things with call spreads and put spreads and iron condors. And um, I'll be the first to admit those are not strategies that I understand easily. I'm more of a straight call or put guy. Um, so for example, if you told yourself like whatever your number is, let's say you wanted to risk $100. I would say you could buy like two, three of these $25 calls. If you want to risk $1,000, you could buy like 25 to 30 of them, for example. And if you just bought the straight calls, that would be the worst case scenario. Granted, it's very unlikely that these things go to zero by the time you sell them. But I did want to share that with you because Wall Street, in my opinion, well, it's kind of obvious from the calls and puts that they're really pricing in a form of negativity here. And just according to my sources and everyone I'm talking to, they think it's all going to be positive. Now, again, nothing's 100%. You have to, understand where your risk is. But I thought I would enlighten you sort of on AMRN's new drug, and they're filing, of course, for what is it called? An SNDA. And just so you know, it's a supplemental new drug application. So if they're able to get this SNDA approval, like you have NDAs and it's not non-disclosure agreement, but NDAs like new drug application. This is an SNDA, which is a supplemental non-drug application. And even if you take this trade or just watch it or not, I think it's informative to understand how these processes work and how these drugs have to go through the FDA and how Wall Street prices it in. I humbly believe my best guess is that Wall Street priced these things incorrectly. Um, again, the puts are trading pretty much around 40, 50% more than the calls. So there's people are really betting that this AMRN is going to have a very difficult time. And if you like this sort of content, thumbs up this video. I'm probably going to end up taking those $25 December calls as a lottery ticket. As I shared with you guys, I'm not sure if I'm going to buy it Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm definitely going to buy it before Thursday. So I'm either going to buy it Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. If you're in the Newsbeat live room, I could tell you in real time as I do it. If you're not, I can only share with you this because I have no other way of talking to you in real time, other than these videos in which I'm doing in real time. But I genuinely hope you enjoyed this video. I thought it was a very interesting take. We've been having a very interesting week. Again, I'm not doing so great for the first week of this year. I think it was a little tough. I think I'm up a little better than $14,000 for the first 6 trading days. Yeah, so we had 6 total trading days this year so far. So I'm up a little better than $14,000. Not, not bad for the type of choppy, grindy garbage action we've been getting, but I am hoping that the market action does indeed get better. I am looking more forward to this week's in trading than I was last week. And if you like videos like this, again, slap the like button. Let me know you like it. I don't monetize these videos, but you telling me you like it, and I can bring you more information like this because Melnick spent his Sunday in a very interesting way. Definitely watch the video from earlier. We talked about the Know Your Limit 8 strategy, a new strategy that we use intraday on earnings names, which has nothing to do with AMRN whatsoever. I hope you guys enjoyed the Newsbeat show. Happy trading, make money. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the Newsbeat Live trading broadcast. New Newsbeat Live member, link in the description for details. Have a wonderful evening.